It's another day, the sun is shining. Got to know what's going on around you. Wake up, it's the time to motivate your mind. Come with me, let's make this moment brighter. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Come on and wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Wake up with the Bahamas at sunrise. Hey.
Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
And I'm Mark Daniels. Thank you for joining us on this marvelous Monday. It's dead early and back to school is really, really back today.
Indeed, it is. I think all schools back in full swing today. Those that were holding out over the past weeks have finally opened their doors this morning. And so we expect, lots of traffic. So we hope that you guys are up and getting ready to head out. And of course, wishing you and yours a wonderful day. Before we go any further, Mark, it really is our pleasure to stop now and wish a very, very, very happy birthday to June Albury. Of course, Miss Albury being the founder and executive producer of Bahamas at Sunrise, leading the counselors group. And so we wish her a very happy birthday and pray that she's blessed to see many more in good health and continuing to be the visionary that she is.
Yes, happy 18th birthday, Mrs. A. I mean, you've accomplished so much in just short 18 years. I wish you another 18 as you get ready to become 21, right? But thank you so much for all you've done for the country, all you've done in media, and all you've done here on this show. You've created such a great ripple effect throughout time that will never be lost. Let's put it like that. So thank you so much, Mrs. A, for all your contributions. We love you.
Indeed, Mark, indeed. This show has really been with the nation for the over 20 years now, just making sure that we're keeping track of everything happening here. And it's all because of her vision. So yeah, we celebrate you, Miss A, as we look forward to another great show today. We're going to find out about the CTU-ICT week happening this week in Nassau. And the Ministry of Education continues its Focus on Education series.
We're also going to hear from the Blue Rose Foundation about what they're doing to raise awareness regarding leukemia. And we're also going to talk to Craig Dahlgren from the Perry Institute for Marine Sciences about their work and his presentation for the upcoming Abaco Business Outlook. Speaking of Abaco, TCL invites you to attend the Abaco Business Outlook next week, Thursday, September 15th, for discussions on the economy, tourism, small business development, and more. This is a virtual event, and the cost to attend is $40. You can register at tclevent.com. Definitely worth it. Hope to see you all there. Before we get into our wonderful show, let's check in on weather with Brother Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, Bahamas. In your first look at the weather at Sunrise, high pressure is on weather feature, and let's expect typical summer-like conditions with light winds over the remainder of the week. Today, partly sunny skies, hot and humid, with a couple of showers or thunderstorms by afternoon. High temperature 92, heat index 101. Tonight, few clouds around, still warm and muggy, slight chance of spotty shower. Your low temperature going down to 80 degrees Fahrenheit. And some region highs and lows across the Caribbean, Barbados 88 and 80. In Jamaica, 89 and 76. In Trinidad, 87 and 78. And the Turks and Caicos Islands, 92 and 80. Across North America, Atlanta, 83 and 71. In Raleigh, 86 and 69. In Miami, 90 and 79. Dallas, Texas, 86 and 73. And Toronto, Canada, 66 and 61. As you go through the week, high pressure continues to be a dominant feature, So there's partly sunny skies, hot and humid conditions, those afternoon showers and thunderstorms popping up, and yes, those temperatures daytime will be in the low 90s, at nighttime around the 80-degree mark. That puts you up on your first look at the weather sunrise. I'm going to go inside. Back to you, Star.
Thank you, Godfrey. The government of the Bahamas, in collaboration with the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, is hosting ICT Week, September 5th through the 9th, under the theme Leveraging Global Partnerships for Caribbean Connectivity. Here to tell us more, we're happy to welcome Rodney Taylor. He's the Secretary General for the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, and he's joined this morning by Leon Williams, who we all know well, Bahamas Ambassador to the International Telecommunications Union. Gentlemen, good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Good morning. Thanks for having us.
It's an absolute pleasure to have you both with us. Mr. Taylor, I actually want to get started with you and find out what is the role of the CTU?
Thank you. Good morning again to everyone. The CTU, or the Caribbean Telecommunications Union, is an intergovernmental organization. It's an institution of CARICOM. Of course, we all know CARICOM. And CARICOM has established a number of specialized agencies. Some are dealing with public health and some are dealing with security. We are dealing with the issue of information and communication technology within CARICOM. And how do we harmonize our approaches? How do we harmonize the industry and our regulation of the industry across CARICOM so that we enhance the investment in the sector for the telecoms operators when the other companies are in the ICT industry, ultimately to provide better services for our citizens. As you know, we rely so heavily on technology these days. Our mobile phones, our internet access is critical to our daily survival, and therefore the extent to which we can improve those services by working with the operators in the sector, then it would be for the betterment of our citizens. And that's really our role.
Yeah, it's so wonderful to hear us as a region discussing these things and making sure that we're as up to date as we can be, right? And working collectively to do that. One of the aims of this particular forum is to discuss how regional governments can collectively respond and work with global partners and the private sector in closing the digital divide and connecting the unconnected. So that's a pretty big mission. But why is it important that that is happening, especially at this time, Mr. Williams?
So I kind of covered everything that the Secretary General has stated. I must first of all state that the Bahamas is a founding member of the CTU, the Caribbean Telecommunications Union. In fact, the union was formed right here in the capital of Nassau, Bahamas, back in 1985. And so we have been a part of the regional telecommunications organization. And I can say that as a member of the ITU, the International Telecommunications Union, which is an arm of the United Nations, the telecommunication arm of the United Nations, the Bahamas gained its independence in 1973. And 1 year later, 1974, the Bahamas became a member of the International Telecommunications Union. So we've always been a part of these international organizations, regional as well as global. And for the CTU to come to the Bahamas to host this ICT Week in conjunction with and partnership with the Bahamas government, it is preparing us to go forward to Bucharest in Romania for the plenipotentiary meeting of the ITU starting in late September and into early October. The importance of this meeting is that the Bahamas, as a representative of CARICOM, is up for election, I should say re-election to the Council. The Council of the ITU has 48 seats. 9 of those seats are in the Americas. The membership of the ITU is 193 states. And so the Bahamas will represent not just the Bahamas on Council, but it will also represent the CARICOM country. And in addition to that, the Prime Minister, Philip Brave Davis, announced a couple of weeks ago at CANTO, another organization of which the Bahamas is a founding member, the Caribbean Association of National Telecommunication Organization, that Stephen Baru, the former CEO of IRCA, will present his candidature to vie for the director of the BDT. If elected, he will be the first serving Bahamian and the first Caribbean national to that position.
Wow, that's really exciting stuff and goes so far beyond even just this first regional meeting. And so it really means a lot for the entire region on a global scale. Thank you for sharing that, Mr. Williams. Mr. Taylor, as for this particular conference, I know Mr. Williams is taking us a bit further away, but as for this particular conference, can you talk to us about the sessions that will be happening here?
Absolutely. So there are a number of things that are happening this week, all in one, rolled into one. The ICT Week is our signature event. It is our sort of our annual general meeting, as it were. We bring all of the ministers from around the region who have responsibility for information and communications technology. Those form the general conference of the CTU, and we meet at least once a year during ICT Week. We also have the Executive Council, and this is made up of advisors to those ministers, the chiefs of telecoms, and in some cases, the head of the regulatory authority, depending on the country. So we will have those meetings that we're obligated to have once a year here in the Bahamas with the Executive Council and with the General Conference of Ministers. We will also be having a technical conference, and that technical conference will be looking at the issue of a single regulator for CARICOM, which is a mandate that the heads of government of CARICOM have asked us to look at to see how we can simplify regulations within CARICOM. There are other issues we're looking at in that technical conference, including the regulation of over-the-top services, or OTTs as they're called, services like WhatsApp, big tech operators like Netflix and Facebook, and what impact they're having on the telecoms operators within the region and how they can be regulated. In addition to that, we will have a ministerial seminar where we are bringing the policymakers or ministers up to speed on the latest technology trends in areas like 5G, cybersecurity, satellites, and fintech. Of course, you know, ministers are very busy people, but
All right. Unfortunately, I think Mr. Taylor, you're back.
Yeah, sorry, I just disappeared. You know, we talked about the internet. You see how important the internet is.
Certainly,
so we'll have the we'll have the ministerial seminar, and a number of other things are happening, including a forum for justice ministers on using technology in the court systems, and a network CARIBNOG, which is the Caribbean Network Operators Group. So a whole you know, buffet of ICT related meetings are happening this week, and so it's a very critical week for the CTU and I think for the region. I didn't mention, but certainly Leon spoke to it about the issue of elections. We have candidates also. Bahamas certainly is putting up a candidate, but there are other regions that are putting up a candidate, and including Japan, Lithuania, the United States, Korea, and many of them will be coming here actually to present their case to the CTU member states as well.
Oh, wow. This is going to be a particularly exciting time. Loving hearing the conversations happening and the far-reaching effects that, of course, ICT has, right? When you talk about justice and that part of the criminal justice system, I think sometimes we forget how interconnected it all is. And so it's really exciting to hear some of the topics that will be happening. And then the fact that you have these people coming from around the world to petition our nations to get them elected again, as Mr. Williams discussed that re-election to the ITU's council. You know, Mr. Williams, I'm going to give you the final word here, as we do have to wrap up, but why again is this something that we ought to look forward to as a nation, and where do we kind of see innovation and technology going as it relates to the Caribbean and ICT?
I think we have heard the Prime Minister Brave Davis, Prime Minister Mia Mottley going around the world speaking about climate change, speaking about this existential threat that we have. We need to find ways in which we can use ICT to mitigate these. For example, the management of e-waste. Everything that comes to a Caribbean island, whether it's a refrigerator, microwave, oven, cell phones, computers, they never ever leave the island. They then, when they're no longer useful, we put them into the garbage, and then they go into the water, onto the dump, the city dump, and then they drain all these toxic into the water table. And so from e-waste management to using ICT to help us during the hurricane, most of us are in the hurricane, we call it Hurricane Alley. We've got to find ways of being able to make, again, topics like crime. I think there was an effort by the ITU back in 2015, an offer was made to the Christie administration then to make the New Providence the first smart city, a smart island in the Caribbean. To become a smart island means that you need to be a safe island. So for security purposes, for law enforcement purposes, everything that we basically do requires ICT, telecommunication, whether it's on cell phones, and everything is becoming so digital nowadays. The government has this effort to digitize the entire country, Digi Bahamas 700. And so it is important for us to not just do it in isolation, but harmonize, as the Secretary General Rodney would have stated a while ago, so that the Caribbean will have a united front moving forward. Because as small countries, it's kind of challenging financially for us to do it on an individual basis in terms of silos. So I think this week is important for Mr. Rodney Taylor to get the ministers together so that we all can be on the same page and move the region forward.
Wow. Gentlemen, it's going to be some exciting times this week. And so we are looking forward to hosting this here in the Bahamas, of course, and seeing so many of our regional partners come together. We hope that your conversations will be fruitful and lead to the next level of development, not just for the Bahamas, but for the region. And so we thank you both so much for joining us this morning on Bahamas at Sunrise. Of course, we've been talking to Rodney Taylor, who's the Secretary General for the CTU. And of course, he's been joined by Leon Williams, who is the Bahamas Ambassador to the ITU. Gentlemen, thank you and again.
Thank you.
Thank you too.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Our world has changed. Many businesses have been closed for months with little or no access to their customers until now. Rev Media can help you remain connected to your customers. Our trusted customized advertising packages and personalized consultants will provide your business with immeasurable support during this challenging time. Your customers are already watching. Rev Media can help you to remain connected. Call us today. Let us help you.
With so much going on in the world today, only accepting cash at your business can be risky. Let Fidelity offer you and your customers safety, convenience, and the flexibility of a fixed or mobile terminal. Take it with you, on the move and on the go, because business should never stop. For more details, speak to one of our business development officers at 356-7764 in Nassau or 352-6676 in Freeport. Visit our website at fidelitygroup.com or visit us at any of our branches.
Welcome back. Today, in our Focus on Education segment, we want to take a look at the delivery of education outside of New Providence and discuss how district superintendents are retooling, rethinking, and rebooting for sustainable excellence. Here to talk with us about this are Michelle Bowleg, District Superintendent for South Central Bahamas, and Jerome Forbes, District Superintendent for Andros and the Berry Islands. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes, thank you both for joining us this morning. We know it's a very busy time for you both, and it's dead early on a Monday. School has been open about a week now, so everyone's getting into the swing of things. So tell us, each of you, first tell us what area and schools you are responsible for.
Well, good morning again. My name is Jerome Forbes. I'm the district superintendent for the Andros and the Berry Islands district. This comprises the 19 schools, which includes the Berry Islands, and the other 18 schools, which comprise North Central Andros, Magoki, and South Andros.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, good morning again. My district is called the South Central Bahamas. It encompasses 8 islands in the southern Bahamas. And there are 20 schools in my district, inclusive of the virtual school, which is in Nassau. 19 on the Family Islands and 1 in New Providence, the virtual school.
Fantastic. That's a large amount of responsibility for you both. We've been going through so much difficulties over the past year or two, just regards to the country, the economy, especially COVID-19. So tell us, Ms. Bowleg, tell us, how did COVID-19 impact your school district?
Of course, COVID-19 would have had certainly a negative impact on our school district, as well as it brought out some positive highlights that we'd like to talk about. For example, and not only my school district of the South Central Bahamas, but in speaking with my colleagues, many of them on the Family Islands would have had the same kinds of challenges that we had in the South Central Bahamas. Of course, there were issues surrounding students' enrollment, students' attendance, the academic achievement, national exam results were the focus, the National High School Diploma, internet access and availability to devices, teacher shortages. So there are some of the challenges that we would have had experienced during the COVID-19.
Mr. Forbes, I imagine that your district would have experienced some of those same difficulties?
Some of the same difficulties as mentioned by my colleague D.S. Bowleg and other superintendents that supervises schools on the Family Islands. But what we can say is that once we returned after the pandemic, we did an assessment to see what the learning loss was like and what issues we need to target right away. Because that was very important for us on the Family Islands because, as you are aware, a lot of parents seeking employment would have returned home to the Family Islands. And they would bring students sometimes who would not have attended school in New Providence. And schools were open on the Family Islands. So we was a market welcoming them. And so what we noticed, what I would have noticed after school opened last week, speaking to some teachers, is that now we realize that when we look at the students in grade 2 or 3, these are the students who were supposed to attend preschool 2 years ago. And so if you didn't attend preschool in grade 1, and now you're 7 years old in grade 2, teachers are saying, well, when you're in preschool, the teacher would hold your hand to write the letters and they would pronounce words and students would read their lips and they go close to the student and say, cat. Preschool students were not able to access teachers in that form. And so now teachers who are in grade 2 have to now close that gap or bridge that gap in terms of students who would not have attended preschool or grade 1. Right. And so basically, as a nation, we would have offered some professional development classes in the summer. Like, for example, Lesley University offered a course that deal with students with special needs or teachers. So even though teachers are not trained in special education, this course allowed the regular teacher to have some insight into how to deal with these students who will now enter classes with special needs or these gaps in education that could be compounding as students now return and are being assessed.
Well, that's great to hear that the ministry has a plan and has enacted that plan to help bridge that gap, as you had mentioned, where students had been out of the classroom for a bit. Talking about the comparison between the Family Island districts and New Providence and Grand Bahama, Mr. Forbes, tell us, how would you compare the exam results, let's say, from your district versus that of New Providence and Grand Bahama in light of COVID-19?
Well, I can tell you that Andros was always an island that produced smart, intelligent people. So there's no change over the years. As a matter of fact, when principals opened the results and they saw the number of A grades, they were really baffled because we noticed that we are seeing less and less of students on the family islands are getting G's and E's, but most of them are now attaining grades between the A and D. And so we can see that we are really on a movement on the family islands in terms of allowing students to maintain that quality education. Because of the smaller classrooms, we would assume that if we have 10 students in the class through primary school, that means they're getting the foundations by the time they reach the junior high and the senior high level. And sometimes classes get even smaller in practical subjects. Sometimes in practical subject, there are 5 students in that class. And so we can see where students have that hands-on in terms of access to a teacher. And what I want to say too to you in terms of talking about family islands, we still in that village kind of philosophy on the family islands where we can utilize skills that are around the school to help build the students who are attending the school. And so even though there may be a deficiency, for example, in carpentry, I know there was, say, a lack of a carpentry teacher. And as principal at Central Andrews High School said, I'm not going to let my students fail carpentry who did it for 2 years because we didn't have a carpentry teacher. And they were carpenters, professional carpenters in that community who came and said, I'm going to work with these boys on a Saturday to make sure. Eventually saw the grades that these students attained at the BGCSE level because they were focused. I mean, it shows that really a village takes a village to raise a child. And this would be all about on the family islands, touching base with the movers and shakers in the village to make sure that they are able to influence what we are doing in our schools and to help us as they always do.
Well, that's amazing, especially hearing how the community has poured in to assist and to help the students bridge that gap. Ms. Bowleg,
yes.
Yeah, go ahead. You can tell us, how did it compare to
with my if I can just add to what my colleagues would have indicated, many of our students on the family islands, including in the South Central Bahamas district, I'll give you a prime example, at NG Major in Long Island, at the BGCSE level, we would have had 16 A's, 21 B's, 59 C's. And at the BJC level, we would have had 18 A's, 36 B's, 55 C's. In artist sound, an improvement in mathematics in particular. In Inagua, 19 of the 22 students who sat the BGCSE actually got grades from A to C. We would have had outstanding results in San Salvador, especially an improvement in English, as well as in art and craft. And then Maguana, we would have had students who would have passed Spanish for the very first time. And so in speaking to my other colleagues, Dominique in Abaco, Pam in Exumer, Michael in Eleuthera, we're really doing wonderful. And in fact, if you really look at it, Family Island students produce the best and the brightest minds in our country. And so we, after all, we have a prime minister from Cat Island, all right, a deputy from Exuma. And so our Family Island students are doing wonderful. They're doing great with the resources that we have available.
I agree. The Family Island is where it's at, not only for rest, relaxation, and connecting back to your roots, but definitely for the education and what's happening in the classroom. Mr. Bowleg, tell us, how are students, teachers, and parents reacting to the face-to-face instruction after being virtual for the past 2 years?
Well, I can say that since most of my schools are actually on the Family Islands, last week I visited Rumkey and San Salvador. We would have had a meeting with all parents in Rumkey. And let me tell you, they were elated. Our standalone teacher in Rumkey, she was excited to be back, along with our teacher's aide. And in San Salvador, when I went on the campus, I mean, it was an exciting feeling. We actually met in a Zoom meeting with parents who were on the school board. We met with members of the PTA. And let me tell you, I attended 2 meetings on the campus, a girls' club and a boys' club on that day, and speaking to students, getting their reaction. They are so excited and ready to be back. And not only them, our hardworking teachers, our school administrators, and superintendents across this great country of ours. We're all excited to be back.
Congratulations, everyone. It is an exciting time. Before we wrap up quickly, Mr. Forbes, tell us, what are your hopes for the new school year?
My main hope for the new school year, when I look at my district, is that we continue not only the legacy of education, but allowing the young people of my district to know about those that went before in terms of those educators, those adults in the community. And that's the reason why actually in Andros, we are going to open our first public museum to preserve the stories of our former principals and former teachers and those movers and shakers in our community so that our young people can know from whence we have come, and that it will give them a direction of where we need to go to make Andros and Berry Islands stronger and even better. And I must put in this plug also, in Andros and the Berry Islands District, we have two very young member of parliaments in the form of Honorable Leon Lundy and the Honorable Leonardo Lightburn. And because they're young and they have a kind of pulse on the young persons in the community, they're always here. And so students tend to want to propel towards them in terms of these are young persons who are contributing and are leading this nation. And I want to be like my MP. And that's so good. These are stories that we want to share with students all the time, that you can be like these young men who are now leading the charge in this district. Yes. And so it's my hope that we can continue to tell these stories to our young people, to continue to encourage them to become the best they can be. And education is a lifelong journey, and we are here to make sure that journey is a productive one. So
very well said, very well said. I know the focus is normally on New Providence and Grand Bahama, but the nation builders come from all around, every rock, every island, every key, and we never know who's going to be the next prime minister, who's going to be the next genius that's going to solve the next world problem. So we look into the family islands to continue to do the great work.
If I may add.
And the next teachers, everything, educators, engineers, doctors, chemists, we got them all coming from the family island. So we'd like to thank you both for joining us at Bahamas at Sunrise, hearing wonderful things coming out of the family island districts. You have Michelle Bowleg, District Superintendent for South Central Bahamas, and Jerome Forbes, District Superintendent for Andros and the Berry Islands. Thank you again for joining us on Bahamas at Sunrise.
A pleasure to be here. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for being with us. You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back.
Join the Click is an initiative started by Cable Bahamas Business Solutions last year when we were trying to figure out how to help business leaders as well as consumers to stay connected. Working with Canoe, working with other partners, working with the government and My Gateway to help them to connect with customers who want to place orders and want to be able to do things in a digital way.
My Gateway. My Gateway is a groundbreaking portal through which clients can request and pay for government services online. We have 28 services. We expect to increase the number of services to a minimum of 200.
I love that we're helping the government and helping our citizens to be more efficient and to use their time more wisely.
I invite you to sign up for mygateway.gov.bs and let us make government work for you. Join the Click.
Hello, summer. Escape into summer when you fuel up with Shell. Every time you purchase $20 gas, you're entered to win your share of over $50,000 in cash prizes and fantastic trips, including a staycation at Grand Island Exuma, a shopping spree in Miami, and a 4-day trip to Las Vegas to see John Legend live. To enter, fuel up at Shell with $20. Go to winwithshellbahamas.com and let the fun begin. Say hello summer with Shell today. Conditions apply. Hello summer.
This segment is brought to you by RBC Visa Classic Credit Card. Enjoy all of life's moments with RBC Visa Classic.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. We're at the halfway point on this marvelous Monday. I'm Anastasia Palacios.
And I'm Mark Daniels. Thanks for sticking with us till the mid-show. We got more to come.
Indeed, we do. We're going to be talking with the Blue Rose Foundation about Leukemia Awareness Month.
And Craig Dahlgren is here from the Perry Institute for Marine Science to talk to us about a little marine biology. But before we get to that, let's take a second look at weather with Brother Godfrey Burnside.
Weather at Sunrise, brought to you by Bahamas First. What's first for you comes first for us.
Thank you, Mark, and good morning, Bahamas. In your second look at weather sunrise, a trip around the tropics this morning, and we do have three systems. First, Hurricane Danielle. At 5 a.m. this morning, Danielle was located in a latitude 39.6 degrees north, longitude 44.4 degrees west, some 940 miles west-northwest of the Azores, moving towards the north-northeast at 8 miles per hour. Winds are up to 90 miles per hour with higher gusts. And then we have Tropical Storm Earl. And at 5 a.m. this morning, Earl was located in a latitude 20.9 degrees north, longitude 65.3 degrees west, some 175 miles north of St. Thomas in the Virgin Islands, moving towards the north-northwest at 5 miles per hour. Winds now 50 miles per hour with higher gusts. Later this week, we expect a slow and gradual increase in intensity and it become a hurricane by late week. Then we have a tropical wave southeast of Cabo Verde Islands, moving west-northwest over the eastern and central Atlantic. This system has a 30% chance of tropical cyclone formation over the next 5 days. On the local scene, high pressure, the dominant feature, so a typical summer day with some light winds. And the marine forecast today, we're asking boaters and swimmers that they will be affected by moderate swells this week. And so we're asking small craft operators to not venture far from port. And the beachgoers will be very, very careful as you move in the sea because of rip currents. Winds today easterly at 10 knots or less. Seas less than 3 feet. For those swells could be up to 6 to 8 feet. Tuesday, those winds variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet. Again, those swells up to 8 feet. And on Wednesday, those winds north and northeast at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet on northwest Bahamas, variable at 10 knots or less, seas less than 3 feet, or the central and southeastern islands still have those swells up to about 8 feet. Yet tides. You can expect a low tide at 9:26 this morning. Next high tide will be at 4:03 this afternoon. Low gain tonight at 10:38. Sunset will be 7:23 this evening, rising at 6:52. UV index 9, your water temperature 84 degrees Fahrenheit, and your moon phase first quarter. Your external look, high pressure will continue to be the dominant weather feature through the week, and so we have lots of sunshine, hot, humid conditions, and there's a chance of an afternoon shower and thunderstorm popping up. So the temperature daytime will be in the low 90, at nighttime around the 80-degree mark, and the heat indices will continue to be in the triple digits. But that's what you're up on your phone. Look at weather at sunrise. I'm glad to go inside. Back to you, Star.
This segment is brought to you by RBC Visa Classic Credit Card. Enjoy all of life's moments with RBC Visa Classic.
Join the Click is an initiative started by Cable Bahamas Business Solutions last year when we were trying to figure out how to help business leaders as well as
Thank you, Godfrey. Abaco Business Outlook is happening next week, Thursday, the 15th of September. One of our speakers is Craig Dahlgren, Executive Director of the Perry Institute for Marine Sciences, who joins us now to discuss the work they do and give us a preview of their presentation. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning, Mark. Thank you.
Thank you for joining us, Craig. I know you're a very busy person. You're usually underwater somewhere or on a boat somewhere, but always doing great marine work here in the Bahamas. So tell our viewers, tell us about the Perry Institute for Marine Sciences.
Yeah, so the Perry Institute for Marine Science is a nonprofit research institute that's based both in Florida and in the Bahamas. And we just, a couple years ago, celebrated our 50th anniversary. So we've been around for quite some time. And I personally have been working in the Bahamas for about 30 years or so now.
Awesome. That's amazing. For those of us who work in the conservation world or just in the environmental world, very familiar with the work you do, very familiar with Craig. He's been around for a while. You age yourself when you say 30 years, right? But tell us about the ecosystem restoration work that you do in our islands.
Yeah, so right now we have a major focus on ecosystem restoration, where we're looking at not just how we protect individual species or restore their populations, but how we can make the whole ecosystem work better so that nature can do its thing, and take care of itself and take care of the people that rely on it for fisheries and other purposes. So right now we have a major focus on coral reef restoration and mangrove restoration as well. And this is particularly applicable to Grand Bahama and Abaco, where we have impacts from Hurricane Dorian. And now there's a coral disease spreading around that's killing off a lot of the corals that build the reefs for both Abaco and Grand Bahama.
For those of us who may not be familiar with this coral disease, just quickly tell us what's happening with this disease and why is it important to address it?
Yeah, this is a disease that scientists have named stony coral tissue loss disease, or scuttled, we call it. And it was originally found in Florida about 8 years ago. And it has spread throughout the Florida reef system and is spread now over the past 3 or 4 years throughout much of the Northern Caribbean, at least, including the Bahamas, where we first saw it in early 2020. There's a lot of coral diseases out there. Corals, like anything, get sick. But this one's particularly harmful in that it has a high mortality rate. If the corals get infected, they're likely to die. They don't recover. It affects more than half of the different reef-building species that we have in the Bahamas. And it kills corals that took hundreds of years to grow in a matter of weeks and can spread across the reef at about a mile every month. And we really don't know much about the cause of the disease, which is hindering our ability to find a cure. We do have some treatments that'll keep corals alive. We know how we can stop the spread from one island to the next. So we do have some tools in our tool belt for fighting the disease, but it's really something that unless we get ahead of it now, it will have a major impact on reefs in the Bahamas over the next 5 years or so. About equivalent to what climate change will do in 30 years, this could do in about 5.
Wow, that's scary, but I'm glad that we have all the smart people working on it and just waiting to tell us what to do, right?
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, talking about a different ecosystem. Tell us about the mangrove study that you've been conducting throughout our islands.
Yeah, so we are going to, at the end of this month, put out a report card on the health of mangroves throughout the Bahamas. But an area where we've really been focusing a lot recently are the mangroves around Abaco and Grand Bahama that Hurricane Dorian killed. Hurricane Dorian killed or severely damaged at least half the mangroves on Grand Bahama and probably about a quarter or so on Abaco. We've been documenting that, looking at where there's natural recovery occurring and where there's not, how we can restore those mangroves, how we can replant thousands of acres of mangroves, really. We've started doing this. Other organizations like Bonefish Tarpon Trust and Waterkeepers Bahamas have also been involved, Bahamas National Trust, certainly. But we're looking now to see how we can scale things up to really do tens of thousands of acres of restoration. And to do that, we need new funding mechanisms. So we've been working with the Nature Conservancy and some private interests to look at how we can use carbon credits and carbon offsets to fund the ecosystem restoration going on in the Bahamas, particularly for Hurricane Dorian, but potentially for other areas as well.
That's like, once again, an exciting study. And, we've known the importance of mangroves, for those of us who like to swim and snorkel and fish, that's where the juveniles would like to be. But when it came to the storm, I think a lot of us got to see in real time how mangroves help to attenuate some of the impacts of storm surge and impacts on coastlines. And so definitely a very important ecosystem for us here in the Bahamas. For your presentation next week, you'll be focusing on sustainable blue economy, specifically looking at Dorian's impact. Tell us a little about that.
Yeah, so a lot of it does relate to some of this ecosystem restoration that we're doing in terms of Dorian had a severe impact to mangroves and coral reefs as well. That will have a ripple effect throughout the economy, affect fisheries, affect tourism, affect shoreline protection and property values, things like that even. Through this ecosystem restoration, we're looking at how we can counter that. And in particular, looking at how we can finance that ecosystem restoration to create this blue economy. Mm-hmm. And we're doing things like the work we're doing on coral restoration, which involves setting up coral nurseries in the water to grow corals and replant them to reefs. How can we get dive operators involved? We've been piloting this for the past few years, so we're in a good position to do it. But now we have funding from the Inter-America Development Bank and other sources to really make restoration-based tourism a thing that happens in the Bahamas, make the Bahamas a destination for coral restoration, and getting the clientele of dive shops and other industries to come in and actually pay to participate in that restoration, to not only spark the restoration of the ecosystem, which will have an impact on the economy, but also to have a direct impact on the economy as well. And with the funding from the Inter-America Development Bank project, we have money not just to build capacity to train people to be coral farmers, but also have the ability to train them in entrepreneurship and other things so that they can actually create businesses around this restorative tourism.
That's fantastic. I love that idea. Restoration tourism, you know, folks travel all around the world. They go and work on farms. They go and work in different places where they pay for their stay by their work. And I think that that's a great model to use here in the Bahamas, especially as you're speaking about the restoration work needed in our marine environment. So speaking about sustainability, tell us, how do we develop a sustainable fisheries industry?
Yeah, that's been something that us and others have been working on in the Bahamas for a while. There's a lot of tools in our tool belt, again, with respect to sustainable fisheries, where we're not looking to decrease fisheries necessarily, but how to make fisheries work better, how to be smarter about managing them. And we've already taken good steps, like the closed season for Nassau grouper, for crawfish as well. But we can also do other things. The use of marine protected areas has shown to be very beneficial to help populations recover in one area that'll then replenish fisheries in other areas. So some well-enforced protected areas like that will go a long way. We're also in the Bahamas National Trust and others are looking at developing conch farming and conch ranching, for example, where we can use some basic aquaculture principles in the wild and grow things without having to really take from the natural populations to the point where we're depleting them. And conch is a really good example for that one.
Those are all very wonderful ideas. You know, we do need to find a way to make our fisheries industry a bit more sustainable. So under the pressures of climate change and everything else, if we can continue to enjoy our seafood, right? Because we're in the Bahamas.
Exactly.
As we wrap up, how can people find out more about the Perry Institute?
Yeah, so the best way is to look at our social media channels on Facebook or Instagram, Perry Institute. Our website, perryinstitute.org, has a lot more information. And we're also very active throughout the islands in the Bahamas. We have staff based in Nassau, Eleuthera, and we're going to be doing a heck of a lot of work in Abaco and Grand Bahama and Andros in the near future.
Definitely excited to see your work continue. Dr. Craig Dahlgren, Executive Director of the Perry Institute of Marine Sciences, helping us with our mangroves and corals. We'd like to thank you for joining us at Moms at Sunrise. Continue your great work.
Thanks, Mark. It's been a pleasure.
To hear Craig's full presentation, you got to register now to attend the virtual Abaco Business Outlook happening next week, Thursday, September 15th. You can register at tclevents.com. Thanks for joining us for this segment. We'll be right back.
In the Bahamas, small business is big business. More than 90% of the businesses in the Bahamas are classified as micro, small, or medium-sized enterprises, or MSMEs. The Access Accelerator Small Business Development Center was created to serve them. We at the Access Accelerator offer a variety of services to our clients: business advisory services, training and entrepreneurial programming, mentorship and incubation, and advocacy.
Since 1967, Freeport Oil Company Limited has been dedicated to fueling growth and prosperity in the Bahamas. We have been a constant pillar within the country, striving to invest and support our community through the best of times and the worst of times. For us, Full Call represents 21 years of strength and consistency, consistent leadership, consistent growth, consistent customer service. Through it all, we are resilient. Full Call, fueling growth for people.
Sometimes you need to make a classic move. That's why for all of life's moments, there's one classic credit card. Experience cashless purchasing power and chip and pin security with your RBC Visa Classic credit card. Manage your day-to-day expenses as well as life's little surprises. Apply today at rbc.com/Caribbean/Visa Classic and enjoy 1 year's free membership. Conditions apply.
Welcome back to Bahamas at Sunrise. This month, the Blue Rose Foundation will launch the initial Leukemia Awareness Month and host a series of events to educate and inform the public about leukemia during September, which is also recognized globally as Leukemia Awareness Month. Here to tell us more, we're very happy to welcome Philip Bowe. He's the founder and co-chair for the Blue Rose Foundation. He's joined by Naomi Crawford, who is a board member for the BRF. Good morning and welcome to Bahamas at Sunrise.
Good morning. Morning. Thank you for having us.
Of course, it's a pleasure to have you here and to have this conversation, because it's so important that we continue to acknowledge and raise awareness around the different types of cancers that affect us here in the Bahamas. Let's go back a bit and understand more about who the Blue Rose Foundation is and its purpose.
Sure, I'll start. Well, 3 years ago, my mom passed away from leukemia. After a 15-year battle, when she was first diagnosed, she only had 6 months to live, but she made it 15 years. And I strongly feel that a lot of that actually, along with her faith, is because of the strong support system that she had, whether that, of course, family, friends, and which is really important. So that's what my sister and I decided to form this foundation for. We wanted to be that support base for children and their families, but more so to spread, her spirit of philanthropy and love and joy and giving. I mean, she was such a giver. Everybody would always talk about the benefits, that they've experienced through my mom, whether through her career in banking or personally. She was just that type of person. So it was our way to keep her alive in our hearts, especially, I guess,
Yeah, no, and she was certainly a phenomenal woman, and we all knew and loved her very well in the Grand Bahama community. Of course, you mentioned that she would have been diagnosed and lived with the cancer for 15 years. We often think of leukemia as a children's disease, and so I'm sure you will be teaching us more about leukemia and the facts related to it. I know that you guys are going to be starting a series called Learning About Leukemia. What do people need to know?
Well, yes, we're going to be having, I think, about 2 to 4 series of 2 sessions with Talk with the Doctor, Dr. Cynthia Brown. She's the doctor that sees these patients, children living with with leukemia and other blood cancers. And then also we'll be doing, I think, 2 sessions with leukemia survivors and their parents. One of which is Daniela Palomino. We've named her really the ambassador of the Blue Rose Foundation. She's a leukemia survivor. So her and her mom will be on talking of their whole story, their journey, because we really want that, more importantly than anything else, we want to educate the audience, the public at large, like you said. And yes, leukemia is the #1 cancer in children, but adults can also catch this disease as well. And it normally happens in adults over the age of 55.
Wow. All right, Ms. Taylor Crawford, why was it important for you to be a part of the Blue Rose Foundation and to be a part of Leukemia Awareness Month in particular?
My relationship with Minerva, with Phil's mom, goes way back. And I recall every time I think of her giving spirit. And I know that if she was with us, this is what she would be doing. And so it was very easy for me to commit to this and to continue to spread the word of life and love and the spirit of giving. And so we want to, for those parents and for those children that are battling this disease, we want to give them hope. Certainly, she has been a vessel of hope for us, having, gone 15 years after being diagnosed, as Phil said, and only given a few months to live. She was that vessel of hope for us. And so we want to share that with the world, and particularly with those families, that are experiencing this kind of trauma in their lives.
Yeah, very well said. Very well said. What activities in particular do you have planned for the month of September? I see you're both in orange today, so I'm wondering if orange has something to do with it. Could you let us know what's happening for the month of September with BRF?
Sure. Well, orange is the color for leukemia cancer. And I actually have a shirt for you as well, Star. So at some point this week, I'll be dropping that off. So you make sure to wear that on Fridays. Well, first of all, yes, the Orange Appeal, hashtag Orange Appeal, hashtag Leukemia Awareness 242. We're pushing or advocating for the public to wear orange every Friday in September and, post on social media with the hashtags. On Saturday, which was the 3rd of September, we had a dollar drive there by Marathon Mall, and we were also in front of Kelly. So I do want to say a special thank you to everyone who supported us. Yesterday, which was September 4th, we worshiped together as a team, as a group, with some guests at Bahamas Harvest Church. September 4th was actually World Leukemia Awareness Day. So we all celebrated together. The sessions that I mentioned that we'll be having educating the public, I do want to point out that will be on our Facebook page. So I do want to encourage everyone to search for us on Facebook, the Blue Rose Foundation, so you could be a part of that and get educated. We do plan to travel to Freeport as well, Stars. We're originally from Freeport, so we can't do everything here in Nassau, but we plan to do what we would call a dollar drive / concert / fun day. We're having that all on the Independence Park, which is formerly known as Walter Parker Park. That's going to just be $1 entry fee for everybody. But my sister Anya, who's a performer here and entertainer here, she'll be carrying her band over higher level. We'll also be having performances by Simeon Oughton, Grand Bahamas own, and also international recording gospel artist Sherwin Gardner. Of course, my mother was a pastor's wife. She died a pastor's wife. So the first part of that day will be gospel. And then, of course, we get into the rake and scrape part of it. But other things that we plan to do along with the sessions is we plan to do a revitalization of the Children's Corner or Children's Wing, so to speak, at the Oncology Center. And we've gotten some partnerships from Bahamas Harvest Church and FTX for that project. And we'll be using Al Pacino Wallace. He'll be revitalizing that whole wing to bring some life to the children when they go there for treatment. Right now, it's pretty bland. We'll be using some artwork from an art competition that we held 2 years ago. The theme for that was Hope for Healing. So we're really looking forward to that. We've been receiving a lot of calls, a lot of feedback, and I'm really proud, in particular this year. But every year we seem to grow. And I think we have a lot more to do in this country.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to getting my shirt to wear on Friday. There may be other people that want to get in. No, it's a way to make a donation. It's a way to stand for something, for people to physically see what you're representing. Yeah. So are there other ways that people can also get orange shirts and participate?
Yes, this Saturday we'll be back in front of Kelly's again. So we want the public to know that. But of course, at any time, you can contact us at 432-0898. Again, that's 432-0898 or 810-5404. I also want to point out, Star, I forgot to mention, as you would know, my family, my mom, you know, we're come from a line of entertainers, and along with assisting adolescents and their families with leukemia, we also will be this month will be establishing a scholarship at the University of the Bahamas for aspiring music majors. So that's the requirement in terms, a few requirements, but mainly it's going to be a music major student. My mom was an advocate for higher learning, very big on that. But because of our music heritage, we want to, you know, help out a student there as well every year. You know, sometimes even if their school fees or, you don't have to cover their school fees, their books and instruments that sometimes they just can't incur those costs. So we want to be that voice for those persons as well.
Yes, and of course, when he speaks about a musical family, we're very familiar with Johnny Kemp, and of course, he's connected. This is the Kemp family here, and so yeah, we want to make that very well known. How can we get more information, or even talk about making contributions or donations, even to learn more about the scholarship? Is there a website, or is everything on the Facebook page?
Yes, everything right now is on our Facebook page. I'll allow you to go ahead.
Certainly, because we do need more traffic on our Facebook page. So you can visit the Blue Rose Foundation on Facebook, and there's any number of information there. There's a history on the Blue Rose Foundation, and anything you need to know, the contact numbers, that is the Blue Rose Foundation on our Facebook page.
Yes, and we also have a bank account at Commonwealth Bank, Town Center Mall branch. So yes, right at that branch or any Commonwealth branch, you just ask for the Blue Rose Foundation. You can make a direct deposit there. You can reach out to any committee member. But right now we're utilizing our Facebook, and hopefully we will have a website soon, Star, where you can just put Blue Rose Foundation and go right to us. But for right now, just reach out to us. We're just a phone call away or hand reach away.
Definitely. All right. And so, Mr. Taylor Crawford, I'll just give you the final word since we have to wrap up. But any words that you want to leave with us, in particular, those who might be battling anything at this time, not just cancer, but so many other battles. Any final words that you want to share with us this morning?
Certainly. I always like to say, and we hear it all the time, where there's life, there's hope. And so, be hopeful and exercise faith. And, sometimes the doctors give you these diagnoses and they tell you, well, like in Minerva's case, you only have a certain time to live. Make the most of that time, but the doctor's word is not the final word, And I would also like to appeal very quickly to the public. We have an opportunity to give back. We have an opportunity to do for those that need us. And this is why we are really here on this earth, to give back and to support each other. And so this is an opportunity to do that. And so I appeal to the general public to please do that as much as you can for those families that are in need right now.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank you both so much for joining us this morning, sharing with us about the Blue Rose Foundation and Leukemia Awareness Month in particular. We want to remind our viewers that they can go to the Blue Rose Foundation page. This is where these events will be happening in terms of the conversations that need to happen around leukemia awareness. And so we thank you so much for joining us this morning and wish you all the best this month.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. And you have a blessed day.
You do the same.
Bye-bye.
You're watching Bahamas at Sunrise. We'll be right back. That's going to do it for us. Thank you so much for tuning in to today's episode of Bahamas at Sunrise. Wishing you a wonderful week.
Thanks for joining us dead early. I can see y'all in traffic. I gotta go drop off the children. Y'all let me out the corner when you see me now. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week.
Bye.